Found out my parents left everything to my brother in their will, so I stopped helping with their bills and extra expenses. All right, buckle up, because this is one of those stories that starts with a family dinner and ends with me questioning every life choice I've ever made. It's messy, it's emotional, and honestly, it's still unfolding. But here's the thing, I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut off financial support to my own parents. I mean, that's not something you brag about at parties, right? But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs, and sometimes you just have to swing back. Let me set the stage. I'm the middle child in a family of 3. My older brother, let's call him Mark, is the golden child, always has been. Straight-A student, star athlete, now a successful lawyer with a picture-perfect family. Then there's me. I'm not a failure by any means. I have a decent job, I pay my bills, and I've always tried to be there for my family. But let's just say, I've never been the one my parents brag about at family gatherings. And then there's my younger sister, who's off living her best life in another state, completely detached from all of this drama. Growing up, I never really noticed the favoritism. Or maybe I did, but I brushed it off because that's what you do when you're a kid. You don't question why your brother gets a brand new car for his 16th birthday while you get a hand-me-down. You don't ask why his college tuition was paid in full, but you had to take out loans. You just accept it because, hey, that's family. And family sticks together, right? Fast forward to adulthood. My parents are retired, and like a lot of retirees, they're on a fixed income. They've got their social security and a small pension, but it's not enough to cover all their expenses. So, over the years, I've stepped up. I've helped with their medical bills, their property taxes, even their vacations. I didn't mind, really. They're my parents, and I wanted to make sure they were comfortable. Mark, on the other hand, has never offered a dime. Not because he can't afford it, he drives a Tesla and lives in a McMansion, but because he's always been the type to prioritize his own family over everyone else. And my parents, they've never asked him for help, not once. Then, about 6 months ago, everything changed. My parents sat me down for what I thought was going to be a routine conversation about their finances, but instead, they dropped a bombshell. They had updated their will, and everything was going to Mark. The house, the savings, the investments, even the family heirlooms. I was stunned. I mean, I knew they favored him, but this felt like a slap in the face. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they thought Mark would need the money more. But no, he's doing better than all of us combined. Maybe they thought I didn't care about the inheritance, but I've been the one helping them for years. I even moved closer to them so I could be there in case of emergencies. And my sister, she wasn't even mentioned in the will. It was like she didn't exist. I asked them why. I didn't yell or cry, I just asked. And you know what they said? Mark has a family to take care of. He needs the security. As if I don't have my own life to worry about. As if all the help I've given them over the years meant nothing. It was like they were saying, thanks for everything, but you're not important enough to leave anything too. That's when something inside me snapped. I didn't say anything at the time. I just nodded and left. But over the next few weeks, I started to reevaluate everything. Why was I bending over backward for people who clearly didn't value me? Why was I sacrificing my own financial stability for parents who didn't see me as an equal to my brother? It wasn't about the money, it was about the principle. The blatant favoritism, the lack of appreciation, the feeling that no matter what I did, I would always come second. So, I made a decision. I stopped helping with their bills, I stopped paying for their extra expenses. I didn't make a big announcement or anything, I just stopped. And you know what? It felt liberating. For the first time in years, I wasn't constantly worried about how I was going to cover their next expense. I wasn't stressing over whether I'd have enough left over for my own savings. I was finally putting myself first. Of course, it didn't take long for my parents to notice. They called me confused and a little angry. "Why aren't you helping us anymore?" they asked. I didn't want to get into it. I didn't want to rehash the whole will thing, so I just said, "I'm sorry, but I can't afford it right now." And that was that. They didn't push. They didn't ask Mark to step up. They just accepted it and moved on. Now, here's where things get interesting. A few weeks after I stopped helping, my parents started struggling. They had to cut back on a lot of things: cable, dining out, even some of their medications. And guess who stepped in? Not Mark. Nope. It was my sister. She called me out of the blue and said, "I heard you're not helping Mom and Dad anymore. What's going on?" So I told her everything. And you know what she said? "I'm not surprised. They've always treated us like second-class citizens compared to Mark." Turns out, my sister had been feeling the same way for years. She just never said anything because she didn't want to rock the boat. But now that I had taken a stand, she felt like she could too. So she started helping our parents, not financially, but in other ways. She'd call them more often, send them care packages, even fly out to visit them. And you know what? They appreciated it. They actually thanked her. Meanwhile, Mark, he hasn't done a thing. I don't know how this story ends. My parents are still struggling, and I still feel guilty sometimes. But I also feel like I've finally set a boundary, one that was long overdue. I've realized that family isn't just about blood. It's about mutual respect, appreciation, and fairness. And if those things aren't there, then maybe it's okay to step back. So that's where I'm at. I'm the middle child who finally said, enough is enough. And while it hasn't been easy, it's been necessary. Because at the end of the day, I deserve to be valued just as much as my brother. And if my parents can't see that, then maybe it's time for me to stop trying to prove it to them. T.L. Dior found out my parents left everything to my brother in their will, so I stopped helping with their bills and extra expenses. It's been a tough decision, but it's taught me the importance of setting boundaries and valuing myself. Family dynamics are complicated, but sometimes you have to put yourself first.